Welcome back to the Tu-Vie podcast, your TV movie entertainment needs podcast. I am your host, James, and I am very sorry for missing last week. I got sidetracked with a bunch of stuff we had coming up, but we're back. We're going to go over everything that we had coming up this week, so let's get into it. I mean, wow, where to begin with such a week, man? I think we're going to start off with what everyone has been talking about the last few days, really, is going to be the Deadpool and Wolverine teaser trailers. Our very first look into this new movie. I am so excited about it. Now, personally, between us and the Tu-Vie group chat that we had, we all were kind of placing bets on what the title of the movie was going to be called. We all thought Deadpool and Wolverine would be a little off from the actual title listings. It's been Deadpool, then Deadpool 2, and we thought maybe Deadpool 3 with the claw marks being the 3. We thought that was going to be kind of clever, but Deadpool Wolverine is still a great title. I am so late to the party on doing a trailer breakdown that I feel like kind of doing one now is a little off, but I will say this trailer came out with a swing, man. It just came out perfect. I mean, I know that people have been saying MCU's dead, MCU is back, MCU's dead, MCU's back. It's off and on with every single Marvel movie that's been coming out lately. But this one, it feels like it's a good step in the right direction with Deadpool 3, possibly doing the Deadpool kills the Fox universe kind of thing. And I feel like that is a good choice to leave that world behind and step into the MCU. And I think a lot of people have also been trying to fan cast Daniel Radcliffe as Patch, which is the Wolverine persona we saw in the trailer very, very briefly. I know we haven't actually seen Wolverine's face, but come on. I mean, we got it. We got the set photos that we're not going to talk about here when they were coming out. But now that the trailer's out, we're still not going to be talking about them as much until they are actually seen in the trailer. Or if you aren't watching the trailer, just want to go into it blind, we're really not going to talk about it. But other than really what I've seen in the trailer, that's what we're going to be sticking with. But yes, we are definitely getting Patch. I'm not sure if it is Daniel Radcliffe. I don't think it's Daniel Radcliffe. As funny as that would be to see Daniel Radcliffe finally play Wolverine, I think we're going to be sticking with Hugh Jackman. And for those who may not know who Patch is, it's a persona that Wolverine dons when he is in Madripoor. Now, Madripoor is a city we have already seen now in the Falcon Winter Soldier. It is a city that was like the crime city, I guess. It was like the Gotham of Marvel. And while he is there, this was a bigger story that the mutants are kind of, he's done with the XMen, he's on his own, and he uses this persona as Patch to get a better understanding and info of the criminal world, than which he then, as Wolverine, goes out and seeks justice for. But pretty much he's using Patch as like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a alibi for all the things that could be happening related to him. But he's like, hey, I got nothing going on. It's me. It's Patch. Good old Patch. It's cool that we're going possibly back to Madripoor that we last seen in the Falcon Winter Soldier, where we got to, I think that's when we actually met Agent 13 in that show. Maybe she came in later and they went with her. But either way, we went to that city. We're now getting back into it. It's good. Also, come on. How are we not going to talk about the super cool magazine catch and the reload sequence? It's so good. Now, for me, the very first thing that when I saw that was Agent Zero. It's Zero from the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, where he tosses up the guns and then he slides the magazines last second. I think if that is the case, that's what they're drawing the inspiration from. It's kind of funny since he, in the second Deadpool movie, went back in time and saved Peter. He saved Shatterstar, even though he hates Shatterstar, and he saved Vanessa as well. And then he went back and did a lot more time travel, killing his alternate self from that movie, X-Men Origins Wolverine. So I think maybe he had to relive that whole moment as well. But it's still so cool to see this movie where Deadpool is, having to become a hero again and to become into the Marvel Universe. Before the movie actually even ever comes out, we will be posting our theories video. We usually have these kind of episodes for big Marvel ones. The last one we did was a Guardians of the Galaxy one. So be sure to keep an eye out for that mid-January. Keeping up with the mutant level kind of hype right now, the X-Men 97 series dropped its official trailer out of nowhere. Now, the release date for this show was going back and forth, where it's like, oh, it's going to be late 2024, it's going to be mid 2024, it's going to be early 24, it's going to be 2025, all these different things. But now that seeing it's coming March 20th of this year is so stupid cool. Now, X-Men 97, if you also aren't aware of what the show is, it is essentially the continuation of the X-Men animated series from 1997 to today. Now, there's going to be no time jump. It's literally, spoilers, Professor X's death, right now, X-Men 97. That's exactly that. Maybe minutes, maybe a week in between. And I'm super excited that we're not ruining the flow of that show. It feels very still core to that show. And it's a good show. If you haven't seen it, all episodes are on Disney Plus. It's really, really cool. And I'm glad that they actually got a lot of the same voice acting cast to come back. Now, I know people who played like the original characters in that show are not coming back to play the same characters, but they are still coming back to play big roles. Like I know the guy that played Cable is playing a different role, and I know the person that plays Mystique is playing Jean Grey, I think, or I don't know, there's something like that. But what we are getting is a great new story with the mutants, with Magneto taking over the estate of the X Mansion, pretty much everything that Charles Xavier had. We have Jean Grey pregnant, and with that is also then going to be coming to Cable. Cable and Scott are going to have a pretty big, relationship in this movie. Now, I don't know if it's the same thing because technically Cable came from the clone of Jean Grey and not like the Jean Grey, like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he's going to come from the future or it's going to be that kid. I don't know. Either way, all I know is that Cable will have a presence in this show and that he and Scott are going to have some sort of dynamic relationship. Now, a character I was really kind of hoping to see that was in this trailer that maybe I missed or just totally didn't see at all, or maybe he wasn't in the trailer, was Nightcrawler. I do love Nightcrawler, and I was glad to see him in the first show. I heard that he's coming back, so I hope I do see him again. But I want to talk about the moment in that trailer is when Scott finally becomes leader of the X-Men and says, "To me, my X-Men." Like, that is just so good. And then you get that moment where Rogue is carrying Bishop and Beast and Wolverine pops out of nowhere and everybody's just doing their signature stance, and it's so good. And I mean, also could I have gotten a better voice actor for Scott, which I know they changed the guy, but I love the new voice they're going with. And I'm just also super excited that they're making Cyclops the leader of the X-Men. Like not some kind of like weird kind of dynamic between Logan and Cyclops leadership thing. Full on Scott leadership. Now, I think they hinted at some parts of these things in the newer X-Men movies, like Dark Phoenix, I think. I never saw that one, so I don't know. But for me, this is the first time I'm seeing Scott truly, and they're making him truly the leader. There's no kind of different versions of it or not like a clear statement. It's him. Also, I'm not getting this whole X-Men is now woke thing because they're making Morph non-binary. Morph, by the way, is the pale looking character that kind of looks like a crash test dummy. Normally, he is taking the persona, the shape, well, I wouldn't say shape, but the image of someone else because his whole thing is that he morphs into that being. He's a shapeshifter, lack of a better term. Duh, he's gonna have that kind of, like identity. Like he could be anyone. But at the same time, they're saying like the X-Men are woke. Do you know what and why the X-Men were created? If you don't, Google it. You're gonna have a bit of a realization on some things. So if you don't know, take a minute, do some research. Great stories, way better meaning. But if you did know, you get it. Help your friend out. And on the stack, the final stack of Marvel news this week, the Fantastic Forecasting has officially gone out. Now, the original logo that I just presented there for a minute was what we all were kind of using for the last year and a half, I think. And now, out of nowhere on Valentine's Day, the entire cast and the new logo for this movie all dropped at one time. Now, as you can see here, it is a more 60s kind of look. You can even see that the Marvel logo is very, very different. It has like that old cinema movie slate kind of on it. And even the drawing itself with the cast, you see Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, and Reed, and even Herbie. Herbie fans freaking winning this week. And I love how even in the image that they're using, the drawing is not AI. Way to go. That's a bigger plus than, and as a sentence I didn't think I had to say, but the setting and the kind of way it's drawn is very 1960s-esque. And even the magazine that Ben is holding is Life magazine from 1963. Now, it feels like it's just me that catches these one-off phrases that Marvel says and then has no proof to back it up. And then I'm talking about other people and there's other rumors going on and I go for that and I can't show the proof. And then when the thing happens, it's there. It's so weird. But I recall someone saying that this movie is going to be taking place in the 60s, and between the 60s and the current present time in Marvel, which I think is like 2026 now, they're just going to be showing up, or maybe they died, but they're pretty much just going to be lost in time. Lost in time loosely thrown around there, but the thing is that they're not like just sitting around letting New York be attacked. They weren't doing nothing. They couldn't help. I don't know the official thing. There's nothing been official out now. The only thing that's been official out is the cast. And the cast consists of Pedro Pascal as our Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as our Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as our Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss Backrack as the Ben Grimm, the Thing. I meant to say the Thing, Ben Grimm, but either way, that is our forecast. Now, Herbie has not officially been cast. There has been rumors of who they want to cast, or people just been fan casting. People are saying Bill Hader as he did the little robot from the Power Rangers movie. I wouldn't hate that. So someone even said Weird Al Yankovic, and I thought that's perfect. But in things like that, there's no official word on anything else other than the main four, which is great. I'm super finally excited to see this cast. Now, in reality, I'm not that shocked because those images throughout Twitter for the last year showcasing those four were all over the place. And apparently everyone's got some beef with Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn, where because we haven't seen them do this role, they're just automatically throwing them out. I don't get it. I haven't seen them do this kind of role either. Joseph Quinn has done kind of smaller things, and then he did Eddie from Stranger Things, and he did that great. But give him a chance. Like, everyone's like, this looks nothing like him. They just drew the dude. Like, yeah, no, duh, you haven't seen how they look. They haven't done anything. I don't think even production has even like officially started. I don't think they haven't even filmed yet. So, for those who are just saying, they're already tossing them out, just wait. I know I'm Mr. Optimistic on this podcast, but just wait. Either way, on this whole thing of who's going to be Herbie and how they look in the end and what's going to be going on, I'm excited. This feels like the Fantastic Four after 3 movies, I guess, if you want to call them. They're finally making this in the right direction, and they're finally putting them in the family setting, not just a group of people that fight crime. I know they touched a little bit on the family setting in the second movie, I think, for the Fantastic Four with Chris Evans, but there was just something like it just didn't necessarily hit the mark, and I am very, very trustworthy of this one. And in other crazy news, DC and Marvel are now coming back together to talk about their crossover comic series. So I believe it's Kevin Feige and James Gunn that were talking about this, as James Gunn is the co-CEO of Warner Brothers and the head president, I believe, of DC, or pretty much the head of DC, and Kevin Feige's, God Feige at Marvel, that they have been talking together to republish their crossover series that has been out of production for a few years. And by a few years, I mean like double digits here. But that is great news. I've always thought having another, Marvel DC crossover series would be kind of cool, as they have both expanded to various different characters. I'm not sure how, because I know that DC did their Watchmen one. That can make sense. But this one, no clue. And frankly, I don't want to know. I don't want to have a clue. I want to be shocked. I want to see the story they create. I know our resident comic expert cannot be here on the podcast this morning, but Colin is definitely going to keep me up to date on all these different things, as he, like I said, is our resident comic expert, is going to report back to me on these different things. So we're definitely going to be covering this for a long time as it's progressing. Keep you guys in the know. I mean, also, how did I forget this? I can't talk about Valentine's Day without talking about the smash success of Madam Web. Madam Web, in $80 million movie. 80 million. Think about all the things you can buy with $80 million, right? Madam Web is now on one of those lists. Now, I don't like to be so negative about movies. I really don't. I try and focus on some good things about movies and everything, even if the movie's terrible. But people do put their work and their heart into these projects. So anybody involved with the project is off the topic of conversation. Those people absolutely believed in the project, that put time to build these sets, or put time in the VFX and write the stories and create these things, and spend hours doing this. So for those people, congratulations, you had your movie out, and getting a movie out nowadays seems like it's a blessing, as Warner Brothers is retanking Coyote versus Acme, which is, I don't even want to get into that. But the thing is, those people actually worked hard. So those people, thank you, congratulations. But the movie itself, I mean, whoa. I practically watched the movie through TikTok and people posting through clips. I didn't really want to go to the movies and see that movie, but I've seen enough to understand. Wow. I have read a lot about this movie and how Sony didn't even put in the line that everyone loved, which was,
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
that one. Not in the movie. Not in the movie at all, apparently. That is the one thing everyone knows from this movie. Didn't even bother putting it in. I know that this movie is a one-off and they are wanting to expand the Spider-Verse characters. And Madam Web is an interesting character when you don't do it in the way of like tongue-in-cheek fun of Marvel characters or Marvel stories. Like, I guess if you're gonna watch it, spoiler warning, but are you really? There's a line in the movie where, because she's an EMT worker, she's driving the ambulance towards a hospital, and Ben Parker is in the back dealing with a patient. Ben Parker's played by Adam Scott, by the way, which is a good thing. Ben is in the back dealing with a patient. She's driving around, and Ben's even freaking out that they're being shot at, and Cassandra is all like, "What? You've never been shot at in Queens?" That's a real line, not because it's terrible dialogue, but because remember how Uncle Ben dies? Remember where he dies? Tongue in cheek. But then also they're doing all these different things where it's like, if I get bit by a spider, you think I'd be able to climb on walls? And I don't know. It was so stupid. I'm done riffing on the movie. Can't be as worse as The Flash. That movie, I'm sorry. Warner Brothers was awful on that one. They did Nicolas Cage wrong. If you do Nicolas Cage wrong, sorry. Next week, also, we are getting the 3-episode premiere of Bad Batch Season 3. Hey, so, quick thing. Totally got my days mixed up. I thought next week wasn't today. Apparently, the Bad Batch Season 3 has been released today, not next week. My bad. So if you're interested in going and seeing the show, go see it. If you haven't seen it, you can binge watch it all today. Have fun. But wanted to come out here, correct myself. It's not next week. It's literally as of this release. Have fun. Personally, I'm super excited about this show. I am loving kind of Star Wars animation right now. I know Andor just finished wrapped up filming as well. So we're going to be getting that, I believe, next year in Andor. That was a stupid good show. If you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing and go watch it. I'm really, really glad that we're getting the season 3 finale on this show. I'm glad that we're not kind of progressing it longer than it needs to be. But I've loved the Bad Batch season 3, and I like how what they're doing for the story. I'm not going to really get into it now because I've kind of avoid seeing most of the trailers. I kind of want to go into this blind. Not much else I can really say about that, but the last final 2 bits of news are some different production news. So Silk, that was going to be the Silk Spider-Man character in Amazon, has now been getting a creative rehaul. Everybody on the creative team and writing team has been fired besides the showrunner. That was announced the day after Madam Web. Now, I'm not saying Madam Web and Silk are on the same level, but I am saying Silk and Madam Web are not on the same level of just reason to do these things, where Silk is a different Spider-Man character that could potentially be led into the MCU because it's the same spider, yada, 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 all these different things that could work. And Madam Web is like a dimensional being that pulls other Spider-Men from the Spider-Verse, has access and vision to the Spider-Verse. It's a very different level character. But Silk seemed like it's a really cool show. I know that a lot of people aren't, know about Silk, and she's a cool character. I was excited for the show. They're doing a creative rehaul. I just hope it's not in the wake of Madam Web's reviews. So not much other, again, say that there because, they didn't really say anything. Now, on top of that, though, there has been recent reports that Nicolas Cage may be coming back for the Spider-Man Noir series. Now, from my understanding, Silk was going to not be live action. That was going to be animation. But the Spider-Man Noir show, that's live action. There is no official saying that he is in the show. It's just been rumored that he has been talked to about leading the show. That about cover it. Pretty much everything else that we went on through this week is on our TikTok. You guys can go check it out now in case we missed anything or in case anything you want to hear is there. It's on TikTok, Tu-Vie Podcast, as well as on Instagram. We have a lot of stuff going on there. It's more kind of day-to-day things on Instagram, but everything that's going on in the industry, it's on TikTok. And like I said, I know I missed last week, so I'm very sorry about that. But if you guys are missing any of the other episodes of season 3, we just started this year, season 2 and season 1, go check them out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Oscar season is coming up very, very, very soon. So we're going to be doing our annual Oscars predictions episode. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. We're going to have our Bad Batch review coming out really soon. We have a bunch of stuff coming back, and especially with Invincible season 2 coming out real soon with that new trailer. Gonna get that. I don't know if the whistle picked up, but that was supposed to be a whistle. I whistled. And, before we actually officially wrap up on the Invincible thing, I saw a character, Invincible season 2 trailer, that is going to be coming in the second part. If you haven't read the comics, just Oh man, ask your friend about a character named Anissa or Anissa. I don't know how the actual pronunciation is, but that was rumored, and the different marks that was teased. Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty wild second season. Second half, actually. Second half of the second season. Thank you guys again for watching. If you guys did enjoy, like I said, we're on Instagram, TikTok. We are also on Letterboxd. Go check us out on Letterboxd. And all the episodes are on Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, some of them on YouTube. Just go check out your local podcast apps. Thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.